So parents of young kids have found themselves facing a real challenge when it comes to social media and children. Studies show that the more time young people spend online, the more likely they are to develop issues with self-confidence and body image. There are also many sites out there which are inappropriate for children, such as porn sites. And that is why many states have been looking at ways to restrict overall access to certain sites online.
Pitting a 13-year-old brain, underdeveloped brain, against a software engineer who's designing a product that's intended to be engaging and a product that's hard to leave, so it's not a fair fight.
Now, in the 1990s, the federal government placed limits on what young people could see online, but lost a court fight on First Amendment grounds. But now there is a new fight happening, and Louisiana is leading the way by requiring people to be at least 18 years of age to access certain sites. Joining us now is Nicole Gill. She's the co-founder and executive director of the company Accountable Tech, which believes that tech companies have a responsibility to strengthen the integrity of their platforms. Nicole, thank you so much for your time today.
Thanks for having me.
So like we were just saying, Nicole, Louisiana was the first state, but now I understand that at least 24 other states are looking at online restrictions as well. How has it been working so far in Louisiana?
That's right. We have seen more than 24 states introduce some sort of legislation that would either ban or limit people's access if they are under the age of 18 to the internet. Two of the most prominent laws that have passed just in the last month or so are in Utah and Arkansas. Both of those add in age gating, so a requirement that young people be of a certain age. And the Utah bill actually goes even further than most others that we've seen elsewhere. It actually requires platforms to give access to their children's accounts to parents. So if I'm a parent of a 15-year-old and I allow for them to be on, say, Facebook or Instagram, I would also have access to their direct messages, their search history, everything within that account. Some of the other laws don't go as far, and so we're seeing a bit of a patchwork of laws take place through the legislative cycle in states right now.
Right, which is always a problem when there isn't really federal consensus, quite yet. But I want to go ahead and circle back to what is happening specifically in these states. You're saying Utah, Arkansas, maybe Louisiana as well. How do they implement these types of laws? How can they be assured that people who are over the age of 18 only are accessing these websites?
That's a great question, and one that I don't know that lawmakers have figured out as they passed these bills. Louisiana is a little bit different. It has a state-run agency that can do identification verification. Most other states and federally, we don't have anything like that. And so you might have to rely on third parties to verify identification that would then confirm that a user is of age to use a platform. And that is actually a big kind of privacy and data privacy concern, handing over your information, your child's information, to potentially a third party that you don't know what they are using that data for after they get it, could raise more privacy and data privacy concerns than the limits kind of put in place to stop.
Right. So essentially, we have different states creating different laws, which is kind of a problem because there isn't national consensus yet, like you're pointing out. Is there expected to be national consensus? Could these types of laws move to the federal level?
I hope that there is. This is one of the few issues left in Congress that has bipartisan support. There are members from both sides of the aisle that have come together to put forth a number of bills that would take on the platforms and big tech and enforce safety measures for young people. Unfortunately, none of them has made it through the entire legislative process at this point. But we have seen this happen in other countries, so we know that it's possible. In the UK, for example, they passed what's called an age-appropriate design code. It's been in place for more than a year at this point, and it requires platforms to design their device, their service, their app with young people in mind. And so instead of trying to fix the problem after the fact, it's putting in place different incentives that will inspire different kinds of design that are essentially better for young people on the front end. And so we do know that laws like this can work. And they can happen, and I'm hopeful that we can get there.
Yeah, and sometimes you think about it, and you're like, you know what? Cat's already out of the bag. The internet has been created, right? And it's been created without all these safeguards in place. So, how might all of this affect the way that adults use the internet as well?
Yeah, that's a great question. The internet kind of developed over the last 20, 25 years without really any oversight or regulation of any sort. And, now we're in a place where it's like driving a car without a seatbelt. So in terms of effects on adults or people over the age of 18, it's quite likely that in some of these states, based on how the law is written, they will also have to undergo identification verification. So they may also have to share identification with a third-party source, potentially with platforms individually. We're not quite sure how this is going to work. And, these platforms are already scraping all kinds of data on you and I every day, whether we use them or not. And I don't think we want to continue passing laws that would force users to give over more personal data to these companies that have just proven they're not responsible holders of it.
Yeah, which is really, really scary. And I'm a parent. I have a little one at home. What do you think parents can be doing in the meantime if they're living in a state that hasn't really addressed this issue? Because obviously the onus then is on the parent. We talked a little bit about third parties out there that might be creating software in order to keep your children safe. Do you have any other tips for parents right now?
Yeah, unfortunately, a lot of these laws actually put even more onus on the parents to kind of police their children online. I'm a parent as well of a toddler, and I'm terrified for the day she wants a phone because I know what's out there. What we really need to focus on is passing laws that hold big tech accountable for the decisions that they make that prioritize their profits over people. And so I firmly believe that we, the people, have power here to make a difference. You can support an organization like ours, Accountable Tech. There are other organizations in this space that work specifically with parents, and those organizations can help provide you guidance and tips and tools to be better equipped to help your child stay safe online. But even more so, call your elected representatives. They can do something about this. They've just chosen not to yet.
Yeah, the internet really has become the wild, wild west. So it can be really scary for parents. Nicole Gill is the executive director and co-founder of Accountable Tech. Nicole, thank you so much for your time today. We appreciate it.
Thanks so much.